Good evening to all of you. A noun is a word which we use to name either a person or a place or an animal or a thing. We think that that is the only thing that a noun is, but no, noun is more than that. Even things that we cannot see, but we can feel them. There are some things that we can touch. Water, you know, it is not countable. But there are some things which we cannot even touch, but we can only feel them, like love, affection, hatred, heat, cold. All these things also fall under the category of being a noun. You know, I have divided all the nouns into two categories. This makes it really very easy to understand nouns. And these two categories are countable and non-countable nouns. For example, can you count pencils? So, countable nouns are those things that you can count. For example, you can count a pen. You can count if there are a number of them. You can say there are pens. Okay, you can count boys. How many boys are there in your class? You say 17. So, of course, you can count them. But there are some nouns that you cannot count. Call them uncountable or non-countable nouns. Okay, what are the things that you cannot count? For example, you cannot count air, you cannot count sand, and there are a lot of other things like heat. You can feel heat, you can feel cold, okay? You can feel pressure, but you cannot count these things. Therefore, they fall under the category of being not countable nouns. The first category that I'm going to take up is countable nouns. Types of countable nouns. The first type of countable noun is a common noun. Why is it called a common noun? Because it is a common name given to a number of nouns. For example, a boy is a common noun. It can be a word used for any one who is a boy. A pen can be any pen. The first type of a noun is a common noun. Even something like, if I say stick, it is a noun. If I say dog, it is a common noun. Because they are common, they can have two forms, that is singular and plural. About this, I will tell you a little while later. Okay. The second type of a noun is a proper noun. These are all categories of countable nouns. Okay. Proper noun. Now, actually speaking, it can be the same person or the same object that can be a common noun as well as a proper noun. For example, I have a dog. Okay. Now, dog is the common noun, but I can give this noun a name. So when I give a name to a particular common noun, it becomes a proper noun. Suppose the name of my dog is Bruno. Now, Bruno is both a dog as well as the name of that dog is Bruno. So, technically speaking, common noun is when we take one from the common noun and give it a name, it becomes a proper noun. All right. And the third one is collective noun. Now, when we take a number of these and put them in a group, then it becomes a collection or a collective noun. For example, if I have so many elephants and I group them together and call it to be a herd, so it is a herd of elephants. So these are the three types of common nouns, countable nouns, that is common, proper, and collective noun. Now, I'm sure you found that to be really very easy. Very well. Let us have a look at some more examples. I want to show you some examples of proper nouns. First of all, a proper noun is always used as a singular noun. Why? Because it is the name given to a particular person or animal or thing or even a place like a city. And because of that, because it is unique and only one in the universe, therefore it is always written with a capital letter. So this is the rule. These are the two rules actually which are related to the usage of a proper noun. But sometimes we can make use of this proper noun as a common noun. That is the exception to this rule. And in this class today, I am also going to focus on exceptions to rules because we often learn the rules, but we forget about the exceptions. Now, this is an exception. Suppose I take a famous person and I compare his qualities with somebody else whom I know. This kind of a usage can be made. Okay. So if suppose I have a friend who writes really very well, I can say my friend Rohit is a Shakespeare. Here, Shakespeare can take a before it. This is an exceptional usage. Suppose I have some students in my college who follow the Gandhian principles. At that time, I can say I have 5 Gandhis in my class or in my college. It means to say that these 5 people follow principles just like Gandhi used to follow. Now, I would also like to give you some rules and examples with connection to a collective noun. What is a collective noun? It is a collection of a number of people or things which are put together, but they are spoken of as a whole. Hence, a collective noun is considered to be one unit. That understanding is really very important. Why is it important? Because it helps us in constructing sentences related to the subject and verb agreement. And that is the basis of writing correctly. So these are some examples: a herd of elephants, a swarm of bees, a bunch of grapes. Now let us understand this phrase a little better. I can say a herd of elephants, but when I use it the second time in my writing, I might refer to it only as a herd or the herd. I use it as a singular noun. That is the important part of understanding this collective noun. When we talk about a part of the collection means the collective noun only, is the collective noun. Jury is a collective noun of judges. Okay, so we say the jury has arrived. Okay, but if we talk about individual members of this jury, at that time we will say the jury have taken their seats. I will not say the jury has taken their seats or its seats. Okay. Now, a committee of members, this is also a collective noun, but when used as a part of the collection, I say the committee have arrived by different trains. So this is an exception to the rule that I wanted to explain. Now, let me take up the second type of noun, or they are called non-countable or uncountable nouns. Okay. Well, so these are the examples. We cannot count the nouns because of 2 reasons. What are these 2 reasons? Number one, it is impossible to count these nouns. Why is it impossible? Because they might have an abstract nature. For example, water, air, temperature. We cannot count water because it's liquid. We cannot count air. It has a body, but it's not possible to count it. We cannot count temperature because it's abstract in nature. Okay. Second reason why nouns cannot be counted is because it is highly unlikely that we are able to count them. For example, here it's because of their mass or their minute structure. It is really unlikely because of their mass or minute structure. Okay, sugar, for example, rice, for example, there are too many in number. Or sand, it's too small to be counted. Therefore, we cannot count them. Now, let us look at some categories of non-countable nouns. Okay, so let us have a look at them. I am going to remove this from the board. Okay, this is, we cannot count nouns because either of their mass, for example, sand and grain, because they might be liquids, for example, tea, coffee, or water, because it might be a part of air, for example, hydrogen, oxygen, methane. It might be a material, gold, silver, chalk, bread, etc. I just want to point out some things. Many people say, I had 2 breads today. It's wrong because bread falls under the category of material noun. Can you bring 2 chalks for me? It's a very commonly made error in schools. But no, we never say chalks because it is either pieces of chalk or sticks of chalk, which is the correct usage. Branches of learning like physics, chemistry, zoology, even English, they are non-countable nouns. Natural phenomena like rain and lightning, abstract things like heat, evil, or love, they are all examples of non-countable nouns. Now, I want to teach you something really important related to the usage of NCNs or non-countable nouns. These are very commonly made errors, but if we understand them, we will never make this error. This is related to non-countable nouns. We cannot count them, but we can measure some of them. For example, you cannot count your hair, but you can measure its quantity. You can say a lock of hair, a plait of hair, plait that we braid, a braid of hair. We can measure water into liters or glasses or bottles. We can measure air also in the form of maybe a test tube of chlorine, cylinders of oxygen, loaf or loaves of bread. Now, how to make this usage is really very important for us to see. Now, you need to observe this does not turn into plural, but this, which can be measured, takes a plural form. This is singular, but cylinders here is plural. If I had 2 slices, I would say I had 2 slices of bread. If I buy 3 loaves, I will say I purchased 3 loaves of bread. And this is how we measure non-countable nouns, and we make a usage of it in this way. Now, I'm going to come back to the singular and plural form of countable nouns. So now here I finish my definition of countable nouns. What are countable nouns and what are non-countable nouns, why they cannot be counted. And after this, I am now going to teach you the singular and plural of countable nouns and how to make them. Of course, it sounds to be really very simple, yet many times errors are hidden here only. So We can make plurals of which kind of nouns? Common, countable nouns. In this way, the first way of making plural from the singular form is by adding s. So if I have one, I say boy. If I have more than one, any number, then I make use of boys. There are some nouns that end in a more complex way. For example, nouns that end with sh or ch or double s or x or o, we add es to them. All right, so brush changes to brushes, catch to catches, class to classes, and so on. Then, if we have a noun that ends with y, we remove y and add ies. And here are my example: cherry to cherries, candy to candies, and so on. I'm going to remove this now, and I'm going to give you some more examples which are related to changing the form of nouns when you want to make a plural out of them. The next one is this. By changing the last syllable, if a noun ends in f, then we change the last syllable and change it into ves. So knife, knives, thief, thieves, calf, calves, and so on. Now, the problem with knowing rules is that many times we ignore the exceptions. So here are my exceptions. There are some words which are exceptions to this rule. For example, gulf remains to be gulf and we just add s. Gulfs, roofs, chiefs, dwarfs, and so on. There are some nouns that undergo a change according to their internal vowel sound. Man, men, foot, feet, goose, geese, tooth, teeth, woman, women, and so on. So, these were some of the ways in which we form plural from singular nouns. I want to add something more to these nouns. And I'm trying to find some space for that here. I'll put it up here. Some countable nouns remain the same in singular as well as plural usages. And this is here, that many people make a mistake. For example, sheep remains to be sheep, deer, species, series, aircraft, spacecraft. I've brought some words so that you know that when these words are used, they remain the same in singular as well as plural forms. Another specific usage is this. There are some countable nouns that are always used in their plural form, even if their number is one, only one. For example, I might have only one unit, but I will say scissors and I will say these scissors are blunt. It doesn't mean that I have more than one. My trousers are torn. I do not say my trousers is torn. I have savings. Now, savings. These proceeds will go to charity. Proceeds is always used in the singular, not never in the singular form, but it's always followed by a verb which shows or depicts its plural form. Now, this is not the end of my list. I have some more specific usages, and I hope that you're enjoying learning them. And for that, I'm going to remove this. All right, I'm going to put them up here. I've brought for you some compound nouns. This is the most commonly error that I have seen that people make. They oftentimes, when they talk about daughters-in-law and when there are more than one in number, then they often say daughter-in-laws. It's not correct. The correct usage of compound nouns is this, that if there are more in number, that part of the compound which is countable takes the S and not any other. Okay. Law is only one which has made a certain lady another one's daughter-in-law, but there can be more than one daughters-in-law. There can be number of commanders-in-chief. There can be number of stepdaughters. Now look at this. It's not necessary that the first word is taking the S. That part of the compound noun, which is countable, takes the S. Look at this one, passerby, but passers-by. This is countable. Okay. Now, there are some other type of compound words. Now here, these words do not take a dash in between. Here, the two words have merged into one, and now it is one word. Hence, we cannot insert S in between. So, a word like spoonful changes to spoonfuls. Can you add 2 spoonfuls of sugar in my tea? I want 2 handfuls of toffees. All right, so this was the usage of certain compound nouns. And now I have some more which I would like to add. These are also related to specific usages more than anything else. Let's have a look. Some nouns look like a collection, right? And a collective noun is always used in the singular form, that I have explained, but they are always used in the plural form. And these are the exceptions in language. You might have heard somebody say, the police has arrived. Technically, it is not correct. We say, police have arrived. It's always used as a plural. The cattle has finished all the grass. No, wrong. The correct usage is the cattle have finished all the grass. So people, public, police, gentry, cattle, poultry, clergy, vermin. These are some of the examples of nouns that are always used in the plural form. Now I'm going to bring another specific usage for you all. When we take up a noun that denotes a specific amount, length, weight, quantity, it is always used as a singular noun. For example, if I say 600, it is kilometers. So the word that I'm making use of here, kilometers, is a plural. But I will not say kilometers are. I can say kilometers are when I'm using kilometers by itself. But when I put these kilometers in a specific quantity, then I use it as a singular noun. I say rupees are. I can say rupees are kept in my wallet. But if I use a specific number in front of the word rupees, then I cannot say rupees are. That time I say 500 rupees is a small amount to donate for such a noble cause. I hope that I made you understand this one. I am going to bring one more rule connected to numbers for you all. Let's have a look at this rule. I will let this be on the board. I'll remove this. And this is my interesting rule, which is related to the usage of numbers. You might have, of course, read these words. They are all related to numbers. More often, you might have read them in mathematics. Now, these words do not have a plural form when they are used after numbers. For example, it is correct to say hundreds and thousands, but it is wrong to say 500s, 7 pairs, or 10 dozens, right? If suppose you are given an error correction exercise, these are the things that you really need to make note of. I'm going to put 2 sentences and think for yourself which one is correct. 5 dozen eggs, or let me copy this and paste this for you once again. Which one is correct? 5 dozen eggs or 5 dozens eggs? It's very difficult sometimes to decide which one is correct because the difference is minute. Not only in that, it is confusing. Why is it confusing? Because this dozen, which is mentioned here, has it specifies for us, it specifies to us that we are talking about something that is definitely more than one, right? So we get confused and we think that perhaps it's correct to say 5 dozens, but no, it is not. This is wrong. The correction is 5 dozen eggs. And these are the areas from where errors are picked up and designed, right? Because if all grammar exercises were so easy and simple, everybody would score full marks. Isn't that so? I'm going to take up one more exceptional usage. I'm going to remove all this now, and I want to point out something. English language is complex, mainly because it has been derived from so many languages. And fortunately or unfortunately, when these words came into English language, many of them retained their original forms. And that is why we people sometimes find it very difficult to understand its correct usage. Here are some of the words that I am pointing out. So, some words, that is, because I am teaching nouns today, I have brought some nouns which have been taken from foreign languages. And when they have come from other languages, they have kept their original plural form. So they form plurals in an unusual way. Many times, these are also the areas where errors are hidden. So we often make use of this word criteria. But what is the singular of criteria? Criterion. So if you get a sentence and you are asked to correct this, so what do you say? The criteria is that. I have heard many people make this usage. The criteria is that, but it is wrong. This is an incorrect usage because the word criteria is a plural, right? So this is a less used word because mostly there are a number of criteria that are used in a certain thing, right? Same thing with phenomenon. Lightning is a natural phenomenon. But when we talk about phenomena, which is the plural, phenomena must always be followed by are or a plural verb form. Crisis is one, but the plural of crisis is crises, basis, bases, analysis, analysis. And that is how it goes on. That is the list. All right, now I'm going to take up another usage. And I'm sure you'll find this to be very interesting. This is when one part of speech becomes another part of speech. And why does that happen? It happens because of its usage. So nouns can be used to describe other nouns. Now look at this word school. This is a noun. But when I say school children, this becomes to be an adjective in usage. Metal is a noun, but in the phrase metal frame, the word metal is a noun now. Okay, it is an adjective, sorry, that was an error from my part. French nationality, it is a noun, but in this phrase, it is an adjective. Public place. The word public is an adjective. Now, that is easy to understand, but what is the relevance of this as a topic? That when a noun is used as an adjective, it does not have a plural form. So I cannot say school's children. This is wrong. And this is an area where you can find errors hidden, especially when you get grammar exercises. So I say 10 feet is correct. But suppose I give you this in your grammar paper and say, this is a 10 feet pillar. You might think again and again that what is the error here? Because 10 feet sounds to be correct. But you know the grammar rule that when a noun is used as an adjective, it does not have a plural form. You will never make this error. I can say 500 rupees, but then why do I not say 500 rupees note? Why not? Because here the noun has been used as an adjective. So you are sure, yes, this is an error and I have to correct this. Now I'm going to take up another aspect of a noun, and that is called possessive case. Now I'm going to explain to you what is possession in nouns, possessive case. Of course, when I talk about it as a topic, it sounds to be very difficult. Oh, what is this possession in nouns? But when I will explain to you, then you will feel, oh, this is so easy. To possess means to own something, own. So how? Because we are people and we are also nouns and we own a lot of things. So how do we express ownership in nouns? How do we express it? All right, so we express ownership by a small punctuation mark, which is known as the apostrophe. And even though this is a very small and tiny punctuation mark, it is very important. And this is an area where a large number of people make errors. So I'm going to take up some usages and also give you the exceptions. All right. So the first thing that I brought is that what is a possession? What does possession illustrate? Possessive case of a noun answers the question whose. To whom does so and so thing belong? We look at the proper noun usage first. If it is a name of a person, I put an apostrophe and S after the name, and that indicates ownership. So I say Ravi's pencil. All right, this much is easy, but the place where a lot of people make an error is where the proper noun ends in either S or ES. Many people write it like this. This is wrong. Some people might put the apostrophe here. This is also wrong. This is the correct usage. Chris's bag, Charles's school. Now that was about proper nouns. I'm going to take up a usage which is related to singular countable nouns now. When a noun is singular and countable, it will be used in this way. But then there is a problem. Even plural common nouns can have a possession. Then what should I do? The apostrophe will be taken after the S and there will be no extra S here. This is wrong. This is how it goes. Now, some plural nouns do not end in an S, the unusual nouns. In that case, I make use of the apostrophe and S after that word. So it is going to be Children's Park, Women's Day, and so on. Now, what if there are two people who jointly own something? When it is the case of something that two people own jointly, what do I do at that time? In that case, the last noun will take the possession. This is the grammar rule. Now that is easy. You have learned that rule. And now you think, oh yes, I've mastered grammar and I cannot make a mistake. When the grammar paper setter thinks something even more vicious and gives you this. If two nouns or two people do not own something jointly, then both the nouns or all of the nouns will get the possessive case. Let's look at this. Shelley is the name of a poet. He has written poems, and so is Keats. But they have not collaborated and written the same poem. All right. They have their own different collections. So, because this possession is not joined, I say Shelley's and Keats's poems. Now, India has its own army, so has China. So I do not club this together. I say India's and China's soldiers. So this possession is not a joint one. I want to teach you one more rule related to the possession of nouns. In grammar, this word is called apposition, but I will explain it to you very simply. Nouns in apposition. Now, there can be the same person who is being referred to in two different ways in the same sentence. For example, I say, this is Tom, my cousin. Now, Tom is the name of the cousin, but there are two nouns which are used for the same person in the same sentence. I can say, this is Bruno, my dog. Now, Bruno and dog are the same creature. So, there can be many such sentences that you also make many times where two nouns are used, but they both refer to the same person. In that case, the second noun will take the comma. I will bring for you one more rule. All right. If suppose you're talking about the Prime Minister of India, then what will you do? If we are talking about a person who is holding a position of power, for example, the Prime Minister of India, I can talk about Prime Minister. This is the Prime Minister's view. But if I say Prime Minister of India, then I don't say the Prime Ministers of India's speech. Then I will only say this is the Prime Minister of India's speech. Compound nouns here, because when a compound noun makes a plural, at that time, the S comes after the countable part. And this is what gets to be confusing many times. So it is daughters-in-law when we talk about a plural. But when it takes a possession, then it is this last one, daughters-in-law. When we talk about non-living objects, then what happens? Non-living objects do not take possessive case. So we do not say, this is the table's leg. The correct way of saying it, this is the leg of the table. I will end my class by telling you this last one thing, and that is about the plural in abstract nouns. Abstract nouns cannot be counted, but they can have a plural form. For example, some of them. Many joys, many sorrows, many pains. So I can use them in both the ways. Joy, joys, sorrows, sorrows, pain, and pains. I hope that you had a nice and interesting session. And with this note, I will end today's class. You enjoyed the session. And thank you for being with me. Goodbye.